We're getting ready to have perhaps the most important meeting in American history, in my opinion, and we're sending the biggest buffoon in Donald J. Trump. Now, for decades, the Chinese government has made a mockery and tricked dumb American capitalist politicians, both Democrats and Republicans, for decades and decades to sending over all of our technology and manufacturing over to China, right? They also gave us rope to hang ourselves by letting us borrow a ridiculous amount of money that we could never really pay back. And how could we lose? The dollar was backed by petro, and we couldn't lose. We could print endless amounts of money without it losing its value. Now, the Chinese knew this. They knew that would create these gazillionaires in America, like Elon Musk, who's getting ready to be the world's first trillionaire. Not the brightest person, in my opinion, no matter how he tries to act like he is. He really isn't. He's just willing to be more corrupt than the next guy to be at the top, right? The same with Jeff Bezos and the Donald Trumps. Now, they knew that this was unsustainable. They knew that once the petrodollar crashed, so will the US dollar. The American people have already lost. We're 100% dependent on socialism, on communism for our very livelihoods in America, right? Because if it wasn't for those cheap goods that from socialist countries like China, the cell phone you're listening to this video on, your TV in your home, your appliances, your clothes you're wearing, everything comes from China. So you're 100% dependent on the Chinese government for your very livelihood, because they knew that if America was going to manipulate the dollar, if American politicians were going to manipulate the dollar, better yet, they knew that companies were never going to be able to manufacture in America, right? It's too expensive to start a large manufacturing business in America. Companies are simply not going to do that. It's not cost effective to do so in America. So they took full advantage of these dumb, corrupt politicians who thought they could never lose. Now that the petrodollar is completely losing its status, right? And I made a whole video about this, how the wealthy elites, the Sean Hannity's, media figures, the politicians, the billionaires, the only thing that they care about is sustaining that petrodollar, because if it wasn't for this petrodollar, they would lose a majority of their wealth. So now we're in complete desperation mode with the Chinese government to try to sustain this petrodollar, right? And it's unsustainable. This is why we're at these wars with Iran, which they're making a complete mockery of our military, who turned out to be complete frauds, right? The technology that we have is outdated, right? We in the 90s and the early 2000s, yes, we were able to bully and blow away any other country who tried to go away from this petrodollar status. But now we're being defeated by $4,000 drones in Iran. This is leading to complete desperation mode, right? When Trump talks about blowing up all of Iran, I do believe that what's happening and is that there's something very, very, very sinister that's getting ready to happen. I do believe that in this desperation to try to keep the petrodollar status for the elites, because remember, the American people have already lost. They had lost before the war. Life was unaffordable. It's now even more unaffordable for the American people. So the American people have already lost. So in complete desperation, the sinister move that Donald J. Trump has is that he's gonna, unfortunately, in my opinion, drop nuclear bombs in Iran and try to completely destroy that country. And it's sad that our media isn't reporting on what's going on in Iran, right? They're simply not reporting on it. They don't have the information. I watch progressive news here in America, and Sam Cedar from the Majority Report, or I forget the name of the show really. I don't know why, but I watch it regularly. But he said it best. He said, our Pentagon is simply not releasing information to us, while the rest of the world, progressive media from around the world, is reporting on this. And so the world knows the ultimate desperation of America, for these elites in America to try to keep their status around the world, right? And so that sinister plan is to ultimately drop nuclear bombs, which, in my opinion, puts all of us Americans in danger of what's coming. And that's the reality of what's happening.